Hola, ¿qué pasa? ¿Qué pasó? ¿Qué pasó? Mi hermanos y hermanas. We're just waiting on beautiful starseed Katie and the Crow. This is the Crow's Nest. This is a show we host together. I'm sure she'll be here. How's everybody doing? Emily? João? João. I believe that's Portuguese. Bom dia. Canada's in the house. It's good to see everybody. Winche Brimo. Here comes Katie. We're live already.
Just moving.
We're live. You look absolutely gorgeous today.
Well, you know, I'm just running in from outside. I'm going to have to plug in my microphone today because I'm in an empty room in an empty house because I've moved. So just 1 second. So that you guys can actually hear me today.
Take your time.
I don't like being chained by cord.
Right.
It's totally like it's just not who I am at all. But I figured that you guys would actually do it. So hi, everyone.
Yeah.
Welcome to CROWSNEST.
Yeah, they're loading up here. You know what? To go out and come back in because when you plug in afterwards, it's still on the other speaker.
Okay, I'll be right back.
Yeah. All right. She's coming back. How's it going, Tanya Moonbeam? Yeah. Debbie Smart. It's all coming in too fast. I can't get all you. Let's see. Yeah, she had an echo because she was in the room. Ryan Aguilar, Candace Smith, Linda Hickton. Let's see. Jackie Farrell. Michael, my brother. We're going to get back on, Michael. Let's talk after this show. Schedule something. Tom Costall, Sheila Whitney. Here comes Katie. Okay. Yeah, here she comes. She's coming. There she is.
Can you hear me now?
It's still the same. It's still the same.
Okay, so I'll just have to do it this way, and people just have to deal with the echo. Is that okay?
Yeah, you're right.
I'll bring my computer closer there.
Yeah.
I don't really want to sit with the computer on my lap for an hour, but we'll do what we have to for everyone. So hi, everyone. Sorry about the delay. I'm still in the process of moving. And so this is actually the first time I've recorded any kind of video inside of this house. And it's kind of like the Blair Witch Project right now because it's empty. It's empty. And I'm late because I was just running around. But we're here. And I'm glad we're here. It's good to connect. So hopefully my sound quality isn't too bad.
It's not bad. You're good.
Next week I'll actually have belongings in the house because, like, you know how we talk about like these leaps of faith, right? Like, so this is in the last 14 calendar months I've given away everything I owned 2 times. So I have actually nothing to put in this house except for me and Damien and my crystals. But I know that as abundance flows, I will have things like furniture.
That's right, you will.
Furniture, dishes, you know, just stuff that normal people have at their house. That'll come. And then it won't sound like I'm in an echo chamber.
You look absolutely fabulous. Your hair looks great.
Thank you. It's because, you know what it is? I'm enjoying my life. I'm just looking for some shit. I mean, there's a lot going on right now. Like, you know, so the embodiment process has been pretty intense for a lot of people. We got like the 3rd and 4th dimensional density bands that were whipping out last week. So we didn't actually have CROWSNEST last week because I was in the middle of doing that. And you were in the middle of traveling. So while we were supposed to be broadcasting CROWSNEST last week, we were pretty much in the astrals shutting down technology that was connecting people to basically at this point what is considered a synthetic timeline and or the lower vibrational timelines that we have been ready to release for a long time. And so, I mean, lots of different stuff happened. It's never ever just that one thing, right? Like, so some tellers like to tell it like, you know, they forget that we are part of a really large network. And so I just want to humbly say I was doing my part in this story. I definitely know there were other people in other places that were involved. But it's been a really bizarre, wacky week where there's just a lot of like, I've had some of the most bizarre human interactions that I've had in years in the last probably 5 or 6 days. And I know that it's really just about code breaking. Well, not code breaking, code writing. You know, and being able to hold space of love while these patterns run out. and not incorporating them into what it is that we're building, right? Because if we're challenged, especially after we've already healed this thing within ourselves, you know, so a lot of the time it's because we're supporting our brothers and sisters in other parts, you know, of their ascension program or project to process and move this stuff through. And so there's been a lot of teamwork and cooperation that I don't know if we all realize is teamwork and cooperation. So as we've been banging our heads against the wall all week, we're doing it together and we're doing it for each other. And so it has a good meaning and a good reason, if you ask me.
Absolutely it does. And I was going to tell you before we came on camera, because I just sat here. I just laid down here. I got up, took a shower, and I lay. Look at that beautiful heart, golden heart. I laid down. I felt it coming. You know, I felt it coming last night. I got this heat wave. I was talking to Veta downstairs, but it came from the inside out. So I got up this morning and I could feel it like stuck in my two hearts, up into my throat chakra, and just sitting there. And it didn't feel like I needed to remove it or transmute it or anything. It felt like it needed to just permeate through my body. It was like a wave, right? So I came up here, I lay down, and I'm meditating. I'm in and out of dimension for about an hour and a half. And as soon as I got up, I played this blues song, man. And I was like, you know what? This is going to be a great show. And the first thing I want to do is tell this beautiful goddess how much I freaking love you. I freaking love you. I'm so honored to serve you and to serve with you. And, you know, this is the way we need to do it anyway. We just need to do it out in front of everybody. So thank you.
I appreciate that you acknowledge the efforts that I do and take to support you. I appreciate that you let me do it because I know that that's like a big growth moment for you. But I mean, like with me, that's like there's really no stopping me anyway. And that's the masculine part of me. And I just think it's so cool that we as a community came together and got a computer in what like less than a week.
Yes.
And so it's just the power. It's the power of sharing. It's the power of telling the truth. It's the power of being there for each other in any way that we can. It's not always about money. In fact, it very rarely is. You know, we all know this isn't how we value our interactions. And we all know that that's not what any of us are here for. I don't work with any people in the spiritual community who are money-grubbing bastards. I don't know any. I maybe around somewhere, but I don't know any of them. You know what I mean? And so it's like, if we're lucky enough that we can share a little extra, and that's really great. If we're in a position sometimes where we need a little extra. I mean, people like me and you know, yeah, we spend our whole entire day, every day, doing stuff like this. You know what I mean? And it's like, we're Damien. Damien's upset because we're in the room. But, you know, and it's like doing cosmic service 24/7. Yeah. And that's not something that you get a paycheck for. And I love, personally, how warm and understanding and accepting of that our communities have been. You know, whenever I first came out as a light worker a couple years ago, and I really had to trust that people would take care of me, because in large part, that's what happens, right? It's like, I survive on donations a lot. You know what I mean? And that's how a large part of my journeys get covered, is people feeding me, taking me out for a meal, you know, taking me into their house, giving me a drive. Like, all those things are things that I really rely on and that I wouldn't be able to do my job without. And so, you know, for a long time, whenever I first came out, you know, there was still a lot of resistance in the energy community of people like us being valued. You know, so it was like there was a lot of cranking still going on about exchange. And I just really like that we are being really loving and open with our discussions around exchange, because you know what? This is how we're going to get to that heart-based place that we all know exists. And I'm experiencing it now, and so are you. And, you know, so are other people. And so I think, yeah, I just want to say thanks to everyone in the community, because we are having real conversations about this in the Soulogy group. You know, we are having real conversations about this in the comments. You wrote that awesome poem, you know, that awesome sharing about bringing it into the 5D plus and the monetary system. I mean, it's happening.
Yes, it is.
The only way that it will happen is if we actually acknowledge that this is part of it, you know. This whole, you know, there's just, I'm so happy that we're being real. I just like it. Yeah,
and it is. And, you know, it's not, you know, there's no rules here. There's no owner's manual. And I just put one out right now when I said, I I refuse to I refuse to obey any law but the universal law of sovereignty. And you know, I just went through a week where my passport got denied, and I'm working on getting that corrected. So, you know, we're on like this, we're in this transition where we're dealing with these laws and rules and regulations and you know, debt, enslavement, and all this stuff that we know we have power over. It does not have power over us. At the same time, we're pushing through it, you know, the contracts and the right rules and rights of possession and all this stuff. And we have power over it. We have power over it, and we keep moving towards it. And this 5D plus commerce is real. It is based on the honor system. It is based on paying it forward, and it is based on aligning our heart passion to serve with each other and for each other. And you know, I'm totally 100% committed to it. I'm about to jump out of my chair. I got so much energy running through me.
The concept of the scarcity thing, you know, there is enough in this world to provide for those of us who live here. And we are a beautiful, creative, amazing species who's capable of environmentally friendly ingenuity. And now that so many more of us are remembering our crystal skills, you know what I mean? It's like we are on the verge of, if not already existing, we have free electricity, free power that generates itself. We also have way more sustainable methods of growing food, such as like vertical farming and urban farming. You know, there's a lot of things that we're going to be doing in the future that takes it away from it being about, you know, it's everybody. You know, so back when I was an anthropologist, universal livable income was a project that I was really into, right? And the idea that if people had their basic needs met, what would they do with their lives? Like, how would the quality of their lives improve? You know, where would they spend their time and their passions? What would their life experience be? And so for me, it's about elevating all of us to a more authentic life experience where we don't have to worry about working a 14-hour day to just put basic scraps into our mouths and, you know, paying way high rent, you know, doing whatever it is that we have to do to survive. Like survival, the game of survival is changing, and it's not going to be just about survival. It's going to be about thriving. And that's the world that I'm connecting to, and that's the one that I'm dedicated to every day. And I feel like we are a microcosm of what is possible. The only way that this stuff is going to begin happening, and it's already happening, I want to be very clear about that, but it's day-to-day interactions that we engender in our own groups, our own relationships, and our own communities. And that's how the bigger communities are going to be built. That's how the larger waves happen. So, like, judging from what it was like 3 years ago to now, we're well underway. It's in the process of happening, and it's because people are starting to understand things a little differently and moving into that thing. You know, how many people do I hear I can't afford this, I can't afford that? It's like, first thing you got to do is you got to stop telling yourself you can't. For a lot of people, the first way that they learn the miracle of attraction and abundance is by having their needs met. And so, you know, a really simple exercise that I would encourage everyone to do is, you know, when they're going into that space of lack, which is for a lot of us a repressive mechanism, where we're working through the poverty mindset, which is, again, for a lot of us a cultural experience or a real lived experience. You know, it does things to you and it is passed down. And so, you know, in part of breaking those, and not even breaking, but part of shifting those patterns is now facing them when they exist in our life and basically using energy to solve them. Call forth the alignment for a better opportunity. Call forth the alignment for abundance. Call forth the alignment for what you require. And don't freak out if you don't have it exactly the second you think you should. Yeah. You know, it's like I will never forget back whenever I was training. I wasn't allowed to train with too many humans because most of the time a human would try to suppress my skills, which sucked. But I was one time granted the opportunity to try to take this class, and it was a Reiki class with a person called Janet Harrison. And I didn't have the money at the time in my bank account, but I was like, I bet you I can call it in. It was back when I was really starting to experiment with abundance and manifestation and stuff. And so I just put it out there. Like within a week, a check from a school that I had went to 2 years ago they issued me some check to my house. I don't even know how they got my address, but the check from the school was pretty much the exact dollar amount of the class I wanted to take. You know, and that taught me a really valuable lesson, that moment. You know, miracles do happen. They're a part of our everyday life. And if something is really meant for you, you will find a way to make it happen. It will find a way to come to you. And so a big part of what happens when we move into these financial things, which a lot of people seem to be dealing with right now, is you're going to have to learn to look past that block. And believing in magic and making it is a really good way to do that.
That's right.
Conventional methods don't always work. Reinvent that.
Yeah, and I think another thing to remember too is many of us have been stripped down to nothing. You know, have been.
I don't know if he's still there.
Signal. Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you. Oh.
Put my hands down. But it's not the computer. It's not the computer.
No, it's you.
But the thing is, remember that you know, this is important. We've so many of us are sharing this situation where we don't have a home, we don't have a car, we don't have this, we don't have that. The universal worked with us, conspired with us to put it in this situation for a reason, and one of those reasons is to bring superabundance to this planet, because superabundance cannot be alive or cannot be any reality in a place of scarcity or survival. We're not surviving anything. A soul doesn't survive because the soul never dies, you know?
Yeah, and well, it's funny, I was talking with my landlord last night. So, you know, I got this house, right? I'm basically living in the nicest house I've ever lived in right now. Wow. I manifested this as part of my transition, right? I said back in June, whenever the life in Alberta fell apart, I said, this is what's important to me. Like, I want a place where I can base IndiCrow Academy, where I can host my students, where Damien has stairs to run up and down again, you know, because we've been living in these ultra small little cramped places for so many years. And I just put it out there into the universe. I said, this is what I'm looking for. You know, using all the manifestation techniques I teach you guys for free in our other videos that we've done on CROWSNEST. I just said, this is what I'm looking for. Planted my seeds, and I trusted that they would come. I waited until my inner voice said it's time to look for the apartment. I looked for the apartment. I found this was the second one I went to see. I had other appointments lined up, and I just knew. So whenever I came here, I didn't have a reference. I don't have a job that people could recognize. Bank account is weird. So what did I do? I just told him who I was, what I did for a living. He looked at my website and he said, okay. And he took me in without any references, without any proof of income or any of those other things that most people normally want whenever you're starting to move into a property. You know, not only that, but now every time he comes here, he brings his daughter, who has, you know, an older daughter who's living at home because she requires some extra support, who now, you know, comes and hangs out and bonds with Damien. And it just reminds me of a true new worth transaction. Like he was telling me last night, he's like, once I met you, I never showed it to anybody else. He said, I knew that you would be the one. And he's like, you know, and I said, I knew that this was my house too, as soon as I saw it. And so, you know, even people that aren't necessarily on the spiritual path, but who have really good hearts, you know, a good heart knows a good heart when you find one. And I think that being genuine about who you are and what you're doing, and just, you know, showing that to the world can let the world appreciate you. And I think that that's part of why so many people have had scarcity experiences as well, is because they've been hiding who they are. And if you know what I mean? And so it's like you're kind of putting up like a mask to the world. And I'm not calling you a liar, anybody who's doing that. But I mean, if you're not being authentic, people sense that you're not being authentic. They might not know what's going on, but I mean, the way that you can truly be appreciated, the way that you can truly be in alignment, is to kind of just no holds barred, be who you are, you know, and it works.
That's right. Yeah. So there was 3 or 4 posts that came up a couple of days ago, and I shared them. They all had to do, you know, because we use these words dark and light. And then my good friend Lori English says to me, you know, what is this darkness? In our conversation, it just kind of came out. You know what it is? It's just the mask. It's the mask. It's what, and Zaveta says, hey, what would you do in private that you wouldn't do in public? You know, and like you said, if you come across somebody and you've got any kind of mask on, is not your raw, real, genuine, authentic self. And another soul will pick up on that. It may not mean anything bad. It may be nothing less than you not like what you did. What you did was you just went in and gave them the truth. You just went in with a wide open heart, And some people might say that's vulnerability, and maybe it is. And again, we can't get lost in semantics, but the bottom line is it worked. It worked.
It always works. It's why I've never really put myself fully out there. You know, I've definitely had people who I thought would understand who I was, like not understand who I was, but I feel like that's more of them just not understanding or fearing this part of themselves. You know, I've never really, most of the time when I've just fully been this and laid myself out as what I am, it's been fully accepted, and I usually get exactly what I need, almost always, pretty much always. No, I always get what I need. And I think part of it is because I'm a real person, but it's like how, so this is a balanced interaction. You know, balance is, again, about a lot of things. So when I'm being fair, honest, you know, true, then I can allow other people to be fair, honest, and true back. And, you know, it's what you put into your, even like the little micro scale of what you put into relationships has the potential to have a long-term blowback. You know, one lie, one inconsistency, one, you know, one choice to kind of do something behind somebody else's back can create a ripple effect that you might not be prepared for, you know, that you might not even understand the potential impact of. And so I think for me personally, being as fully upfront and honest about all things in all ways at all times is very important to me. But I think that that's another thing though, that people kind of get caught up in making their transition, right? Because a lot of people are waking up saying, okay, well, my family doesn't understand me. I want them to get this. You know, I really want to get this. And so I say that there's a pretty strong line difference between expressing yourself and convincing people. You can express yourself, but it's not our job to convince people of anything. And it's funny, I got into these conversations in the last couple of days where people just were like being super argumentative and trying to like push arguments at me. And it's just like, whoa, it does not compute. Right. How do you communicate that way? Like, it's been so long since I've had to deal with some of the stuff that's now coming back up for rewiring in the collective. Like, let's go back to talking about that weirdness, because I'm, you know, oh, and you know, one other thing I want to say that I want to get back to, but I'm going to say this now in case we forget it, is that the galactic clearing has begun occurring, right? So this means that we're on like a fast forward, you know, kind of genetic remodification of a whole lot of the star particles that are parts of the beings that are here, you know, connected to Earth through aspects, through beings, and through those of us who were born here. And so the bands of shifting, you know, it is going to continue. And I think that it's something that I'd like to pay a little bit of attention to, right? It's because you can kind of feel it going on. You can feel the stuff moving out. You can feel like these two realities happening.
Yes.
And so it's like, how do you know what to do? How do you know which one to trust? And how do you stay in love in those moments? Because I think that's a very practical advice that a lot of us are going to be needing in the coming days, right? Yeah,
absolutely. Amanda Lawrence did a great video a couple of days ago. And she said, she talked about how the veil is a membrane, you know, located in our bodies. And each time, you know, we're piercing that membrane. And this is the month of completion. This is where it all clears for those of us who have been on what they call the forerunners. And but she said what's also going to happen as a parallel this month is these energies, people, or things are going to come at us and try to pull us. And, you know, not out of, you know, any type of, bad intention, just the role that they're playing as we do this in this flower of life or whatever. But my point is that it's not, you know, it's trying to pull us back into this judgment and into this, you know, into this inferiority and superiority and blocking people and resisting this. We've got the higher ground now. You just demonstrated it in manifesting this place by the exchange that you had with this person. And this is all we have to do. All we have to do is put this in motion. There's enough of us now that we can look at each.
But we know it's not the laptop that's doing this, right, guys? Because it's the signal. He's got the new laptop. I'm just going to talk until Todd comes back. So, oh, here. He's back.
It's my energy is just off the chain right now.
Yeah, I spent a lot of hours already today out walking, grounding it, because, you know, one of the things that is really exciting. So, pulling back at us. I guess one thing I want to say about that, I don't actually watch a lot of Amanda's videos, so I can't comment on that one, though I do know a lot of people I truly respect, like you, really enjoy her work. So I'm not familiar with her terminology, so I'm not gonna really interact with it like I am, because that would be fake.
Yeah, that's right.
What I will say is that I think it's really important that we don't go into battle mindset. One of the biggest tests that's happening right now is that nobody's being attacked anymore. Okay, so we took that technology out. It's done. It's gone. It's over. Nobody's being attacked anymore, and it's a great victory to be able to say that. And I guess maybe I shouldn't even use that word. It's a great joy to be able to say that. Okay,
yes.
Because there were a lot of us that were getting attacked, and that's not fake, and that was real. And part of it is that we had to release the things that were in the energy story of the earth that created space for those attacks to happen in the first place. And when we're pulling out all these major lines of stuff that have influenced so many souls, we're closing the door on the potential for that energy type of expression to need to be worked through in the collective, right? Because all of this stuff that we've been experiencing are things that we brought down here to earth through us as part of rewiring not only this planet but the entire universe, you know? So that's got a lot of, well, maybe not universe, well, this one, you know, it depends on how you view it, which words you're going to use. But, you know, like, so a lot of it is that we are mirroring and reflecting not only what's happened on Earth, but also in space. So you talk about how space wars have been replayed here on Earth. So you got the Mars thing that was going on with the series of down in the Boyne Valley in Ireland that is also pretty much the exact same geographical positioning as the main pyramids at Giza, right, on the Nile. And so, like, we as people, we as populations, we as civilizations have been working through these stuff. So it's not only just Earth stuff, but it's also interplanetary stuff. And like I said, the galactic clearing has commenced. And so what that means is that a whole lot of us are going through this beautiful experience where we're being recoded. And so one of the things that means that is happening when you're being recoded is that you go through the experience that you would have needed to work through. And you feel the energy moving through, but it's almost like you're on a different timeline or on a different version of reality as it happens. So I can give examples of this, right? We all accelerated. Yeah. Just because you accelerated a timeline doesn't mean that you can't see or feel what's going on in a different one. A lot of the time you can. And part of the test is not to interact with that one. Part of the test is not to get your cage rattled. Part of the test is not to go, not to go mud throwing. Part of that is what it is, you know. And so there are situations that come up, like somebody actually, like, you know, I can't. No, I'm not even going into it. So, but there you
go. That's what you're supposed to do. Not go into it.
You know, there are situations that come up, and it's not to be a pushover, and it's not to say. But at the same time, it's like this stuff is really intense. Like I was having an experience last week where I was doing this work, and I'm hiking in this place. There's frogs everywhere. It's super beautiful. I was in this nature trail, dragonflies. It's amazing. And I'm getting close to where the towers used to be. And I'm like walking up, and all I can hear is just chatter, trying to decenter me. You know, and some of that might have been residual fear that was somewhere inside me of things that have happened in the past that I was just coming up for me to release. Some of it was the tech that at that time was still operative in that place. And I just was like, yeah, no, I know that that's not what's really not. I was like, that's an energy that's leaving Earth. And the only way it's going to leave Earth is that, you know, the parts of it that are connected to me come into my own personal stargates back through my body and they leave. And then I input the pure with my own actions that I'm choosing. So it's like you can see, say maybe what your fourth dimensional self versus your ninth or whatever you're at dimensional self, how you would react when you connect to that highest vibrational, let the energy of the other one run out. So like later on that day, I was sitting on the beach having this beautiful experience with a person. And like in another part of my vibrational experience, I could feel myself yelling. I could feel myself standing in the middle of the ocean screaming at the top of my lungs. And I was like, oh, she's releasing some density, you know what I mean? And it was like there were parts of myself that were so connected to another timeline that I had ripped out. The Atlantis one, actually, one of the ones that Michelle was talking about.
Yeah.
That was an update she wrote. And you can feel it happening, but you choose not to engage with it because you know it's not real anymore. And so when you guys are feeling this stuff coming out, the more that you pay attention to it, the more you're going to feel what's real in this now and what is old. And always reminding you to choose the highest path of vibration, always choosing the highest path of love. And if you're not sure what that is, taking a minute, getting into your heart and saying, you know, connecting to your unified soul and being like, okay, prime creator, whoever you work with, like yourself, like let's connect in here and let's find the way to act in the most grace, the most love, the highest vibration of truth for us all in these moments, you know? And so sometimes we might screw it up. Sometimes the moments might not wind up with a perfect result, but the point is to try.
Yeah. Yeah, it's incumbent upon us to contribute to this unity. There is no separation. And I had 3 people that I blocked that over the last...
Oh my God, me too. Some people are just not respecting boundaries right now and really looking for a fight. And it's like, if you want to fight with me, I don't fight. Like, no.
Well, you know,
you can't respect me. I'm not, you know, like, no fighting. Frig that.
But what these actually had occurred, you know, 2, 3, 4 weeks back.
I'm fairly
but I removed the blocks. I removed them. I knew I had to remove them. I knew I had to, because I knew that if I had them blocked, now every situation is different. I'm just talking about what happened with me. And these were 3 situations, and I did. And then I thought, you know what, I've got to release this now. So I unblocked, and I got some response, and I just didn't go any further with it. But for me, I had to do it. Whatever we have to do from our own intuition and heart, because there is no separation here. There is no separation. The minute we compare and move into judgment, we're feeding the 2 lower ones that you were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
And again, everybody's ascension's a personal thing. Yeah. But we can't take anything personal, because that leads to the...
And I think that this is a great topic that you bring up, because I think that a lot of people walk the line, right? It's like, there's been a lot of, there's a difference between having boundaries. And I know you're not saying this. I know you fully, so just raising it as a point for conversation. There's a difference between having boundaries because a person or people repeatedly refuse to respect yours, you know what I mean? There are certain energies, there are certain things, there are certain interactions that are part of your vibrational reality. You know what I mean? And it's like, so when things start feeling really uncomfortable, a lot of the time it's because it's got nothing to do with where your vibrational reality is at. And, you know, I've had some really uncomfortable interactions with some people recently who really don't want to respect where I'm at. And it's like, okay, well, you know, I totally support you in doing your thing, but since you consistently pull me into it and refuse to respect that I ask you not to, I'm going to have to take away the ability for you to continue to bring me into that. And that's not about me separating from you. It's not about me not supporting your mission, but it's also about how we heal sometimes is understanding that we, you know, everybody isn't all here for the taking all the fucking time just because you want them to be. And I find that to be like a thing in the spiritual community. Like, stop tagging me in all your guys' posts and using me as your advertising page. You know, if you were talking to me privately, I'm a really nice person. But it's like, you know, I feel like I've stated it a few times, so I'm just going to be very direct right here. It's happening, and it's happening a lot, and people are using me as an advertising board, and I only share the work that I believe in, and that I support 100%. My work in my library, my Facebook page is a living library that a lot of people use as a resource board. And so I'm not saying that your work isn't great, but if I'm not choosing to select it to put it up there, then I'm going to really ask that you respect my personal space, because I'm sharing a message for a reason. And the reason is one that is defined by my mission. And so while I certainly respect yours, I'm going to ask that you respect mine just the same and stop using me as your advertising board.
I got about... Yeah, I have to
be very direct. There's just like, and this is kind of the thing, right? We're so switching paradigms about everything we do. And this is just part of it, right? So like, I'm switching my paradigm. I share work freely, but I've got to choose it. Yeah. You know what I mean? And it's like, and so it's like how we work, how we relate to each other is going to continue to change. And so something that might have been a really fun way to do stuff a few years ago might just not work that well anymore. Yeah. And that's not to say that anybody's wrong. It's to say, hey, we all got to do what feels right for us. Sometimes there's stuff like moving on. And I think that the app that is being developed here is going to be a really exciting thing for that, because it's going to create the space for people to be able to come together towards vetted information, you know, not controlled, yeah. You know, but vetted in the sense that here's a bunch of stuff that's together, here's a bunch of people who are working, and here's a whole bunch of the stuff that they've created, so you can check that out. Yeah. And because, you know, like this whole library of sharing that is such an important part of what Facebook is, what YouTube is, and what all these different networks that we have is, you know, it's really special. And so, Definitely not, definitely not disrespecting that. But thanks for letting me get that off my chest. Thanks. I need to get that off my chest into the collective. And thank you for hearing me on that one.
I totally get that. I have about 2,000 pending. I don't know what they call it. It says, you know, they want to put it on your page. I got about 2,000 of them. And what I usually do is I just go in and look at them. You know, it says add to your timeline or you don't. And I just, if I like it, like anything else I see on the news feed, I like it, I comment, and then I don't add it on my timeline unless it resonates with me. You know what I mean?
For me, because I'm being tested in my boundaries area, that function goes away sometimes. So I'll have it on, but some people will still sneak past through. And I'm not saying they're sneaky or they're doing anything. Yeah. It's that I'm being tested to articulate my boundaries. Yeah. And because I have certain dragon polarity, you know, like we know that I carry dragon and that's what I do, right? And so like when a dragon's boundaries are crossed, we don't like that. And so, but I'm trying to learn how to handle it in a more balanced way. Trying to be balanced. What do you know? So it's like there's little tests everywhere you go, everywhere you look. And I thank people for giving me those tests, you know. Still don't do that anymore. I'm done with that. But like, you know, at the same time, it's a test, it's a real thing, and it's just part of being real.
Yeah. And there's been a lot of tests and tests with people, for me, very close to me. So that's tricky. And to your point earlier about the post, these are situations where we just take time away. You know, you just step away from each other for a little bit, and then, you know, you walk back in, and because, you know, it's still, especially now, right now, you see a lot of people going into that isolation right now, and
yeah,
it's important. It's important to care for our soul. You still there?
Yeah, we just kept trying to talk over each other. Well, I was interjecting, but I wasn't getting the timing right with their internet, and I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Almost.
No, you didn't cut me off. It's the room, and so that's why I'm like trying to find. Because what happens is it's the delay. That's all it is. It's the delay.
Well, that's also a great topic, though, right? Because one thing that happens as we change and move on our spiritual path. Is that we decide, okay, so these people don't work with us anymore. Or I get the question a lot, like, what happens with family or friends, or, you know, having these moments with people. And it's like a lot of the time, the best thing you can do is give space. You know, give space and let people change. I think we touched on this a bit last week, right? It's like very rarely does the door ever have to be closed on something forever. Yeah. I mean, if you need to close the door forever on something and that's really what you feel you need to do, I mean, I can't tell you not to, but very rarely is there anything that's terrible enough that you will never go back again and that they can never come around again. You know, forgiveness is a very beautiful thing. And, you know, I know that a lot of people, especially those who walk a healing path, we have weird stuff occur in our energy fields as we go through our lives, right? Because it's like you have that healing vibration. And what happens whenever people get close to you, whenever people love you, and you love them, is that, you know, that healing vibration that some people, you know, that most people might only get exposed to for maybe 15, 20 minutes, an hour here or there in your life, that becomes a constant vibration for them, right? Because you're there. And so you being there is an act, you know, is an act that invites them to shift their energy field. And so as they do that act of shifting their energy field, stuff comes up. And it can be worked out. And, you know, not everybody is going to be as quick as those of us who are used to having our growth moments figure things out. You know, it's like I screw up, you screw up, we're like, oh, crap. I mean, oh, that was like this pattern. Okay, I've got to fix this pattern. Okay, I've got to say I'm sorry to these people. Yeah. Okay, I've grown. That's not everybody's process. And I think that understanding that it's not always everybody's process. And like you were saying, understanding that it's not about you. You can't take it personal. Is kind of an important way to move through that. And so as we're kind of going back into the school year, and as a lot of people are kind of moving back into, you know, the regular schedules, I think it's going to be an interesting time, right? Because the light has made it to the general population at this point.
Yes, it has.
And it's being, you know, I was watching like Sandra's thing. So Sandra has a new thing, a new program, and it's got to do with integration. And it's got to do with making this stuff mainstream. And I was like, I saw that and I thought it was really great, you know. I've got one supporting shares, and it feels like the next wave is ready to come. And I think that also, you know, and that comes in all forms. Again, like with the app, with going mainstream, you know, a lot of us are ready to go mainstream, and that doesn't mean we're selling out. And it also raises a lot of questions, right? I mean, like, did you see that, is it Sephora has now your witch's starter kit that comes with like a rose quartz crystal and like some white sage or something like that? And that's just now being sold at random makeup stores. I mean, like, you can go a lot of ways with a conversation about that. You know what I mean? But it's interesting to see that how far it's coming and how quickly.
Yeah, it is.
So I guess it'll be great, you know, for us to just continue on with that heart-based sharing. You know, a lot of people kind of say, well, how do I find what people want me to, you know, how am I going to find my people? How am I going to find people? Just say it. Yeah. The only way that you're ever going to find the people and they're going to find you is if you have the strength to just speak. Yeah. Just say it.
Hey, I want to ask you something. There's been like 3 people that came out and they talk about this wave that's coming this month. This very, very, very bigger than ever, and that's the way we always hear it, but whatever. But what I was going to ask you, because I saw this astronomy calendar, you know, I don't keep up with all that stuff. There was like 5 or 6 things occurring in September. And then I felt like it's the month of completion. There's some other people, and I've gotten that for several months, and I don't get stuff like that. What are your thoughts on what's going to happen this month?
Well,
we still got 25 days.
Thanks for asking. Good question. So I'm going to give you a weird answer. So to me, this wave, well, actually, I'm going to first refer to a post that I read right before I came here. And I can't remember who wrote it, so please, if the writer is here, I do apologize. This is not my thought. But the writer kind of said, you know, there's been way more waves of light that have been hitting this earth than people like to think about. I think, and she was basically, I think, getting into this idea that everyone is the biggest one, everyone is the next one, and it's like there has been a lot of big ones. We are in a time, but there have been major waves of light that have come to Earth before. In my opinion, now, I feel September to be more about beginnings and endings. I think for a big wave, I think that for the forerunners at the very front, we've already had the wave. We've already had this experience, and we're already moving into that creation space. And so one thing I think is very important to think about is that a lot of people have been waiting for the event. And that almost puts us in a holding pattern. Yeah. We've been hearing about the event since forever ago. Now, I'm not criticizing anybody who talks about the event or this wave or the multiple waves. But what I am saying is that I think that what becomes really important is that we act now and not later. Yeah. Because we are that wave. If these waves of light can't exist on Earth unless we can anchor them. So stuff can come into the grids because we've opened up the sites, we've opened up the crystal tech, and we can get it into the actual technological infrastructure of the Earth's energy system. We know how to do that, right? But that can only happen because we figured it out again. And that can only, you know, and so whenever people like me have been ranting for years, well, not ranting, but sharing, inviting people to learn how to anchor energy, saying, all right, guys, we're going to have to cooperate. There are moments where our teamwork are going to be really important. These are moments coming up this month where our teamwork is going to be really important. And so what I do say is instead of, you know, if this idea of big waves of light excites you, and if you want to participate in moving us to the next dimensional band of frequency, because that's happening, right? We know that's happening. That's happening around equinox. So for months, you know, me too, I've been feeling October as like the best time ever since probably like Christmas last year.
Yeah.
It's been feeling good for a really long time, and I think that it is, but it's like, that's not going to be something that's handed to us on a silver platter. That's something that we're going to have to actually help co-create ourselves. And so I would like to actually, whenever we're doing our work, I'm going to be on the road, I think, for Equinox, but I'm going to keep sharing public ceremony and public co-creation activities and continue, you know, helping people learn how to become those anchors, because it's up to us. It's up to us to invite in the shift of consciousness. It's up to us to say, you know, we are creating New Earth now, we're calling New Earth now, and doing all the stuff that we've been doing all summer. You know, you guys already all know how to do this. Anybody that's been watching the Crow's Nest knows. You know, read my book, Connecting In. It's 24 pages. And the back is the exercises that you need. Look at my websites, you know, IndiCrowEnergetics.com. There's so much information for those of you who feel called to this message that is open to access for you to get to right now, you know, on how to do this. And so thanks for asking. So do I think a big deal thing is happening? Yes, but I think for some of us it already has. You know, some of us already made the jump, and basically we're holding the line. So if you guys want to see an indication of what that might look like for some of you, look at the transition I just made in the last few months. It's a marker, it's a path marker for what is possible for the rest of the collective. You know, I'm not saying I'm the path breaker, because that would be full of crap. I'm one of them. And so whenever you show these journeys, part of it is to say, okay, guys, here you go. And yeah, and so like what happens is that people tend to get really caught up in their own pain or in the completion, and they forget about the fact that we got to begin stuff, right? So let's not get too snap happy and snipping things away, and just remember that while we're doing that, even more important is creation. Even more important is the 11111 of that container ship. You know, like I showed a photo yesterday, and it was like a container ship coming into the harbor, and the container ship had all ones on it, you know, and the ones basically meaning these are your new lines, these are your new beginnings, this is your new stuff. And that's so, you know what I mean? Like that's all here now, that's already begun. And maybe part of us creating that wave of light, generating that wave, is actually with more intention calling in our next steps now.
Yeah. And when we were exchanging messages the other day, I loved what you said. You said because I believe the same thing. You were able to say it, and I didn't put it in those words. You said we're writing the blueprint.
Yeah.
Can you expand on that?
Well, some people okay, so like even those of you who are just beginning to care about this stuff right now, we aren't a tiny subsection of the population anymore, but we're a small one. And, you know, a lot of people think that they're not good enough or that they don't have anything to contribute. But if you're listening to this message right now and you're here with the idea of, you know, planting new earth seeds with your heart, then you are a part of the New Earth co-creation team. You know, and as the years go on, our team will get bigger and it will get stronger because we're going to learn more and share more and get better at all the stuff that we know how to do. But, you know, when we have our conscious interactions, when we look at, you know, in these day-to-day lives and we see these crappy patterns happening and we're like, you know what? I'm choosing something different. I'm going to act this way. That is actually creating the new earth, right? That's the blueprint.
Yeah.
And so, you know what I mean? Some people have never seen mercy. Some people have never seen kindness. Some people don't even know that love is an option in a situation until you show them that it is. And you know, it's like that the way that these emotions, the way that the lower vibrational energies and feelings got to the point that they were the dominant resonances because they built off each other. And they grew and they grew and they grew, and hurt created hurt and pain created pain. And, you know, like think about back in times when you were working through parts of yourself that weren't healed, like how much, you know, like for me, because I was hurt so much in my life, I was like a tiger sometimes. I would pounce on you to save myself. You know what I mean? And like, so what was I doing? Sure, I was protecting myself, but I hurt other people's feelings. You know what? I spent a lot of time in my bed the other night, going back and remembering who I was in my fourth dimensional and third dimensional selves and balancing out and apologizing and working on clearing out the energy, the shit that I did. Because you know what? I haven't been perfect either. I've been pretty good. I've been pretty fair and nice, but in my pain, I know that there are still things that I haven't balanced that I created.
Yeah.
And so I've been working on that, you know, big time. But, you know, so, okay, taking away, moving forward from that, it's like, so if pain creates pain, then love creates love.
That's right.
It's that simple. And so, you know, you are the blueprinter whenever you're raising your children. So you're taking your kids, you know, conscious parenting. Helping, you know, right now a big thing that's happening is a lot of people are having more dynamic interactions with their animal friends, animal companions, and animal consciousness, you know. And so when all that stuff is happening, it's like, what are we doing? We're reintroducing those relationships in their more complex and high vibrational form to Earth. You know, the Cat Collective is on the move. I've been working on this with Damien for a while, but like, and Jen had her cat have a thing. Damien got into a fight. My friend and student Patty's cat got into a thing. All this stuff is happening with cats. And, you know, Damien has been very active in the light working, and he just, like, what he has to say really is, you know, a lot of people are being called to do various things that are going to open up consciousness again. So with animals, recognizing, you know, that some of the animals that are our best friends, you know, they're not just some cat. You know, this animal is a complex soul who has something to contribute to this earth, something to contribute to ascension, something to teach you about your life. You know, right now, for a lot of light workers who have isolated themselves over the years, all we have is our cats. And so, you know, like my friend, when her cat got hurt the other day, you know, what did I think about it whenever I was connecting with him? He was like, I helped my mom move past those feelings. you know, oh my gosh, this is being so emotional because it's so beautiful. It's like he hurt himself really badly. And, you know, part of it was to help her heal. What would happen if she lost him? And you know what I mean? It's like, so they're even in its simplicity like that, you know, the relationships are changing, even just recognizing that they're doing this. Did you feel the wave just happen when people recognize what their animals were doing?
Yeah. Yeah,
you
absolutely.
can feel the wave, you can feel it moving through the collective of the people watching us, right? And your face is even changing with the light message.
And speaking of felines, I got a visit from Lyrians last week. I don't know if I say that right, but it was the first time, 4 of them. And I don't know. And I looked around a little bit and I see other people talking about it. You have any intel on that?
I'll be honest, I don't work with them.
No, I've never seen them before.
I come from a different ascension path and a different star.
I'd never seen them. They came in. It was all feminine, and they came in with some stuff that I already really knew. But the overall thing was they were lynx, Lynx, the cat lynx. So I looked that up, and it talked about how it represented a higher level of telepathy. And also patience. So I didn't know. I didn't really research it too much. I just thought it was kind of strange because it was a pretty powerful dimensional experience. But I've had plenty. I just didn't know, because I know like the week before for me it was like Arcturian, you know, and it's just like, I don't know. I guess everybody's coming home. I don't know. But I thought maybe you might have some intel on that. But you're right about the animals.
I have to say, and this is for you and everybody, is when we get visits, we make sure that they're in alignment with our highest good and alignment with the primary creation ascension timeline trajectory. Because there are still some sorting out going on in the world. And so this is something that a lot of people actually ask me about in private too, is how do I know who I'm listening to is right or correct or imbalanced or whatever. And so for me, you know, I get a weird feeling from that transmission. And I know you do too, because I can feel that you know something weird is with that. And at least that's how I feel even just talking about it. And it's so one thing, and this is all for all of us who listen to messages, channel messages, hear messages, do whatever, is always make sure that we know who we're talking to. And I'm not saying you don't, Todd. This is just for the others.
No, I know. This is why we're talking. This is
a reminder. Just because you can hear them doesn't mean that they're always in alignment with that primary ascension timeline, especially if you're crossing vibrational space. You might be hearing voices and resonant frequencies of stuff that is ready to be released and is no longer really necessarily in play anymore. And so this happens a lot with those of us who are shifting where we're living, what our missions are, and how we're going to go about doing our stuff, because, you know, we're changing pathways. Yeah. And so sometimes we have to remember to clear out the communication system in order to be able to hear, you know, what's ready to come forward next.
There's a good comment from Geraldine, going back to what you said about the event. I personally don't believe in the event. It's just my personal thing. But she said the event, well, let me pull it back up. That's a good comment. Let's see. He says the event is pure love, no judging, helping your fellow man, meaning when you give, you receive. People get so lost in the label, the event. Guess what? We are in the event. We need to go easy on ourselves. People are so caught up in this, they have forgotten to laugh. Be in the moment, enjoy life, and on and on and on. But yeah, you know, yeah, that event thing is almost like a.
Well, it's the event, the moment that you realize that love is the most beautiful and powerful thing in the world. You know what I mean? It's like, to me, I feel like it's something different to so many people. Like, is the event not maybe just even your own personal revelation of love? You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, I mean, like. And you can't even say, like, different bands of experience. My experience is the same. You know, would I love something to happen like Rainbow Sky? Yes. But, you know, at the same time, the vibration is so high on Earth that you can see things that we never used to see before anyway. I was out playing this weekend with my dragon self. So I'm a dragon. Big surprise. You can probably see it in my face just by talking, looking at me now that I say it. Okay, I'm a dragon. We know this. And so I work with my dragon form all the time. And I was able to bring her through pretty consistently for about a 6-hour period this weekend. And I could see her in this dimension. And I was flying her in this dimension. And other people saw it too. And my friend was able to take down his body. He doesn't even practice every day. He's in the fourth dimension still banding out, but he can slip up when he needs to practice. He was flying himself around. You know, I've seen my friends sending me pictures. It's like looking at the, you know, you can, if you look around, the magic, and I like the point of Geraldine's point. The magic is here now. And I think she, like, what she says is important. Take a minute. Damien agrees. Take a minute. Really enjoy what's around you, because there's a lot of friggin' magic happening right now.
That's right.
You know what I mean? And it's not tomorrow or the next day or 6 years from now. It's now. So, like, let's revel in the joy and the glory that is this earth, because, you know, that's really what we're here for anyway.
I agree that the event is in the moment. It's moment by moment.
And you know what? I'm having a lot of fun with these moments. I mean, there's still uncertainty about things, but I trust.
Yeah.
And do you have anything to say, Damien?
What's that?
Oh, Damien, just he wants to say. He's telling me that he wants people, so people who were interested in the cat message. The animals are trying to communicate with a lot of us in more in-depth ways, right?
Wow.
Ascension isn't always just about us raising our vibration. It's about raising the vibration of the co-creation relationships that we have with these beings. So a lot of people think about intergalactic peace negotiations. A lot of people think about, you know, drug negotiations, but are they thinking about the relationships that we have with these guys?
Yeah.
You know, and what they are here for, and what they have to offer us, and what they can teach us. You know, these guys, there's a lot going on with cats in space, and it's not just in this dimension. You know, Damien has been working on telling me a story that I can't quite fully get into human words yet, that I'll share when it's time. But he says that if more people spend more time communicating telepathically with their animals, we'll be able to open the pathway easier for animal communication to come to more. The kids need them. Yeah. You know what I mean? The kids and the animals are very important. But they have stuff to say to us.
Yeah.
And we're not going to get, you know, they're coming back into full recognition as sentient beings, and their importance is a big part of moving forward next. Because, you know, if we subordinate an entire series of species in our planet, we're not being balanced.
Yeah.
You know, we're not being balanced if we consider these guys as less.
Cats have been huge for me since I left October 16th or October 2016. They've been huge for me, and I never had any type of relationship with them. And dogs, but I mean, mostly cats. I mean, just like everywhere I went, they just, and there was a telepathic language that I started to learn with them. You know, it's interesting.
He's having a little moment with his people there.
Oh yeah.
You can talk. Damien's just I have to show him this respect right now.
Yeah, do it.
He doesn't often come forward for broadcast. If you've noticed, he usually stays out. And so he came forward today for broadcast because he wanted people to know that. And I know it's weird that I just brought my cat on to talk. But whatever, he's part of my team and he's my best friend. And if I could say that there's one person that's always there when I'm doing my hardest work, it's him. Yeah. You know, he's the one that helps me stay anchored to earth. He works with the children constantly. Damien does his own special thing. And so do a lot of your cats and dogs. You know, and so just taking the time, if you feel like he just wants you to feel encouraged, to the people who are inspired by that message, to try it out. So yeah, that's it. We're almost done. Do we have any announcements to make? I have some stuff going on. I'm doing a sharers workshop that's going to go on over the course of a couple of months. It starts on the 10th. Opening up dragon training, which is happening again. Taking some sessions, taking appointments. I'm back to regular business now. So those people who might have been waiting for me to say that, I'm ready to support your journey any way that I can. And
okay, where can they find you again?
IndiCrow Energetics is my Facebook page, and IndiCrow Academy at thinkific.com is my school. Just go to IndiCrow Energetics on Facebook, or also the post that I made in Soulogy today that the live recording of this is on. Has all the information that people can get to. I'm going to be, you know, it's time. So like I said, over the next month or so, I will lead public, free, open ceremony that is really about co-creation and laying down the energy of the new earth. And so I feel like the what's next for CROWSNEST is we'll keep riffing, but I definitely want to keep doing the ceremonies that we were doing earlier in the summer and really helping become even more of a team. Like, let's use some of these sessions that we have together to create that love wave ourselves, you know, and let's just friggin' do this. Let's make Wednesday afternoon, 2 p.m. a really friggin' good time to feel the love.
Right on. That's right on. And for all of those out there, we know this show resonates. I know it resonates with you. Please consider making a contribution to IndiCrow Energetics. Okay.
Yeah, paypal.me/Katie IndiCrow. Well, brother, actually, it's exciting. We had more people this week on the live at the beginning than almost any other broadcast we've done. So thanks to all who are sharing this. Thanks to all who are coming. Thanks most of all to you, Todd. I freaking love you, man.
Thank you. I love you too.
I'll talk to you soon.
Kisses
Thanks,
and hugs
everyone.
to you and Damien both. Thank you, Damien.